Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to the Golf Lovers United podcast. I am Golf Lover UK. I am trying another putting challenge. If you're bored and want to watch a bold guy miss putts from 4 to 6 foot, please do head over to our Instagram page where you can see me miss putts left, right, and not obviously in the centre. I am joined by my good friend and partner in crime, Pro Golf Critic, and our new father, Red Harrington. Congratulations, Red.
Yeah,
How's it feel?
no, good.
Yeah.
It's been a whirlwind, but went from being at the PGA Championship to kind of just waiting on my hands, and then the whole thing happening now. We're on day 5, so
Day 5.
yeah, doing the best I can. I'm happy to be here. Happy I could join you guys. Shout out to my mother-in-law and my mom who are in town, kind of giving me some cover right now. So.
Yeah, when I was texting you this morning, I was like, you liked something of mine on Instagram, and I wrote back saying, you are up early, the baby's awake. And you're like, yeah, I am. And Jay, cleanly shaved?
Yeah, I'm up.
The once every month shave?
I'm I'm up early, cleanly shaven, got my coffee going. Shout out For Wellness. I've got my good stuff in my coffee per usual. It's got me raring to go. Like it really has this stuff. It's an ad, but it's not an ad. It's actually really helped me just with recovery and sort of endurance and stuff like that. When you get a little bit older, your joints, get out of bed, get a little bit crackly. So this has definitely helped just sort of get everything going and get me going in the morning. So shout out For Wellness. We'll get a discount code for you guys eventually. Haven't gotten one just yet.
Yeah, we will sort that. We're going to talk about a lot today. We're going to go a little bit of boots on the ground of the PGA Championship for a couple of weeks ago. Red wants to talk about Jon Rahm. Then we'll talk about that for a little bit. I'm also going to ask the question, is anyone on the PGA Tour capable of winning other than Scottie Scheffler? Yet another dominant performance by Scottie. Heard from him. We'll talk about that a little bit. And we're going to chat about Rory now doing a press conference, some of the comments he made, some of the comments in the media. The media fired out on Twitter, some interesting thoughts there. I'm going to talk a little about the US Open, about Josele Ballester and him joining LIV. A little bit about Luis Masaveu and what that means for him, how that worked, and also what we're seeing in the world of golf. But I just want to start, and we'll do it real quick because I know that Jay gets a little bit bored of the Scottie Scheffler chat. But I'm just going to say, yeah, it's not Tiger-esque. I know he's not Tiger, but it has that small Tiger feel that on that final day when he gets in the lead, that's it. Because there's no one else that seems to be able to come from behind anymore. Is that indicative of his ability or the lacking in the field, or probably, if we're being fair, a bit of both? Because he does get into that position. It's like, okay, it's over now. Let's turn off.
Yeah. Even though this is one of my least favorite topics, I'm going to chime in here really quick. I think Jack Nicklaus in the post round said it best. Like, the guys that were at the top of the leaderboard were not in Scottie Scheffler's class. They're just not. And this is the effect. He didn't say it specifically, but he alluded to it. It's like, yeah, you know what? If Jon Rahm or Brooks and Bryson and guys like that were here, there's a higher probability that there would be some more alphas here that are in Scottie Scheffler's class to challenge him. And with them not being there, with Rory not being there too, which is a whole nother story, like a lot of those top guys and a lot of the other top guys are not really playing all that well. Xander's not really playing all that well at the moment. He's still sort of coming back from his injury, even though, I mean, it's been a while now. Like he should be playing better than what he is. And some of the other guys are just not, they don't have the horsepower and the firepower to like really track him down on a Sunday. And it's becoming glaringly obvious in these elevated events that the PGA Tour has that are smaller field. It's only the sort of elite players left on the PGA Tour, even though those elite players left on the PGA Tour have been severely diluted by the guys going over to LIV and them being banned from these events. That's where like some of these wins, they don't have the same cachet that they used to have. And it's something that I'm totally fine with that. I've accepted it. Like, it's part of the reason why, like, I'm not watching the PGA Tour the way that I used to. I have another league that I'm more interested in because I think there's more compelling storylines. There's like more just sort of interesting dynamics going on with the teams and sort of what they're going to do and some of the players. Like, all that stuff is way more interesting than a tournament like the Memorial that's, It's been at the same place for a long time. I've watched the Memorial for like 30 years. Like now having the Memorial without Tiger, without Phil, without DJ, without all these other guys that I've rooted for forever, Rahm,
yeah.
Brooks, all those guys, like it's just not as interesting to me. So that's the thing that the PGA Tour, that's what they're sort of facing right now. It's a huge problem for them, and they could try to sweep this under the rug all they want. But every time Scottie Scheffler wins and wins in the fashion that he did, without like any major challenges to track him down, it is an indictment on the PGA Tour and the signature event, elevated event model.
Yeah. Yeah, I totally agree. You know, I mean, look, we had Ricky Fowler and Keegan Bradley at inside the top 10. Like, there's just not a lot of guys out there right now, and they're just, you know, there's room for them to jump in. And we can go on about what it means for Ricky. I know he got his exemption to the Open. You know, that great for Ricky. I'm glad he could kind of take a sponsor's invite and pile that up and make it in. You know, but it kind of points to some of these glaring issues they have on the tour, but also just the system still remains. So it's tough to see, but you know, also I'm a big Keegan Bradley fan. So not to say that he shouldn't be playing great golf and be in there, but when people want to talk about guys who are overaged and shouldn't be competing anymore, but you got two of the older guys who are probably in the same class as a lot of the players who are on LIV, it just draws into question, you know, how hypocritical people are with some of these accusations they're throwing around. I mean, Brant
that hypocrisy is a big thing for me.
Shout out Brant Snedeker. Haven't seen his name up there in a while, and you know, he just sponsors invite, shows up, plays well. Good for him. You know.
And I think the one thing I know Jay and I, we'd slightly different our opinion of Scottie, and Jay's desperate to see if he's going to perform outside of the US and can he perform in the Open, and we'll see that. But I think the one thing I think that we can't deny, and we have to give Scottie, and I'm a big Scottie fan, is the credit for his consistency. I'm going to read you a list of what you might consider his, and before midway through last season when he was still playing really well, but before he was maybe considered, well, he was still ranked number one in the world. There were still people trying to knock on the door. You had like Videcki, Justin Thomas, Tony Finau, Xander Schauffele, Victor Hovland, Colin Morikawa, Tommy Fleetwood, and Patrick Cantlay. A lot of those names there were deemed to be his peers, but the one thing that they've not been, obviously they're world-class golfers, let's not be daft, they're still brilliant players, is they have no level of consistency in comparison to Scottie. And I saw a really good comment from someone. It wasn't Tiger Woods Legion, but it was another Tiger fan account, which was, they said, while Scottie is not Tiger, there has not been anyone since Tiger who can turn up with their B game and still always win. But that's what it is. He never turns up with his C game. That's what Scottie's also so good at doing. He never turns up with his C game. And the other guys, they'll give you a bit of A, a bit of B, a bit of C, a little bit of D. And the worst you're ever getting from Scottie is a B minus. And I think there's a huge thing there to be said for Scottie, that consistency of just going, I'm just going to go 1 under, 2 under on my bad day. I might shoot a level par on my really bad day. Whereas you look at Colin Morikawa, shot 2 over on the last day. You're not sorry.
He shot 5 over on Saturday.
Yeah, sorry, it's a 5 over on the last day to be 2 over overall. And you look at some of those players, and you look at Xander Schauffele shot 4 over on the last day, Justin Thomas 1 over on the last day, and some of these players that are meant to be in that category of around him are just not that consistent. That's Scottie done. Jay's had enough. We got to give him his flowers. He's playing really well.
I have one point to make.
Fine.
His floor is a lot higher than everybody else's. So to your point, yes, that's accurate. But I do have a bit of a problem when people bang on that narrative, because I think we were seeing some of that, like, oh, Scottie beat, you know, the LIV guys with his B game at the PGA. He, like, on Saturday night, that was A+ Scottie Scheffler. He put that thing away through that stretch of holes on the back, like 5 or 6 holes, and it was come and get me golf for the rest of the way. And he played it like that. He played it smart. He didn't shoot himself in the foot too much on the front 9 there, and then, you know, kind of just stole it and went away and was basically did exactly what he wanted to do. He forced Rahm and Bryson to go chase and make mistakes, and that's what it was. Not his B, like, he still has to achieve to beat these guys at that high level, but it is easy to say when the margin becomes what it is that he can perform with the B game.
It took an A+ Scottie Scheffler on Saturday at the PGA Championship to win that. And the thing that I've been saying consistently for the past year, he has proven without a shadow of doubt that he can dominate on PJ Tour setups. And as much as people don't want to hear this, Quail Hollow is a PGA Tour course. And all these other courses that he's playing are courses that are very familiar to the PGA Tour. He's winning on those consistently. Yes, I totally get that. I think that Oakmont and Portrush are completely different beasts, completely different animals. And if he's able to win on those, I will give him his flowers. Until then, I'm just not there with Scottie Scheffler yet. I'm just not. So people are just gonna have to deal with it. It is what it is, and yeah, we'll just have to see how.
I'm tagged in some of your old takes on Scottie, and people want to keep revisiting it. So
of course they do.
I know you want to stand on it, but
the reality is he did his performance hit a cliff the end of last year. Like there's no the stats bear that out. That being said, he's been on the uptick the last few weeks, and there's no question about it. Like he's been very, even though he's been fairly consistent, like he's had these little peaks and valleys. And like I don't know how long this peak is gonna last, this next peak. Like I think that he's definitely starting to peak again, but it's like I don't know how long it's gonna last. He's already like alluded to some issues going on, some ongoing issues going on with his back. I will never wish injury on anyone, but like people need to watch the video he did on the PGA Tour YouTube where he talks about how he's had back issues since he was like 15 years old. So there's some sustainability things that people need to like keep in their mind that like, hey, we need to keep an eye on this. And those are the things that I'm going to keep bringing up to people.
You could argue, right? I'm not in favor of rollback for many, many reasons. I'm not going to get into it now, but if you want to know why I'm not, if you want to know why I'm not in favor of rollback, go and listen to the 2 podcasts Lou Stagner did on rollback. Like every single talking point I've got it. They're exactly the same. Like
the only thing Lou and I agree on. It's the only thing we're in complete agreement on.
With Lou's depth of knowledge on data and distances and all these sort of things, I can talk about rollback, but I can't do it to the effect of which he can with all the backing and the numbers and all of this. But yeah, just come and listen to that. So ignoring rollback, I think actually there's a bigger concern. We weren't going to talk about this in our pre-show notes. Here we're going with back pain. I think that there's a lot of issues in distance and hitting the ball harder that is causing more injuries. There are more injuries to my mind.
100%.
Now,
100%.
I know people. Well, I said that the other day, and someone said, "But what about Freddie Couples and what about VJ Singh? They both had silky swings. They both had bad backs. Well, some human beings do have bad backs." But it doesn't mean silky swing doesn't mean you don't get a bad back. Because you can look at Louis Oosthuizen, who's had a silky swing his entire life and basically hasn't suffered injury until this year. And what's Louis? 42. He's
turning 43 this year.
Yeah, so the vast majority, people did have the odd injury, but outside of really a few big tiger injuries, most golfers were able to play golf for a long time with the odd injury here or there. But the injuries now do seem to be more significant. Look at Ludwig Oberg. Oberg's got a fantastic swing, beautiful, really, really easy, but he suffered with a few injuries. Like, it's more and more common. Get David Pooh.
Talk about Will Zalatoris too.
Yeah, well, David Pooh swings out of his boots like the guy hits it miles, and he weighs less than one of Red's legs. Like you've got to look at this, and I actually think some of this distance stuff has caused injuries.
100%.
We saw Bryson had a little bit of a niggle earlier last year, which I think was downplayed how much from niggle that was. I think there's a lot of players who are getting more injuries. So I think that's something to look at. I'm not defending Scottie. I'm just saying in the greater scheme of how things work. By the way, doing a podcast not at 10 o'clock at night and actually doing it from my office, the energy I've got is amazing. Normally having to do this. Normally this at 11 o'clock at night because Jay lives in bloody California. Right. But the lack of injuries, I think, in the past, comparatively to now, and how many golfers are retiring a little bit earlier and not playing as much senior golf. And someone made a really good point, who I can't remember who it was now. The point was, if you look at the amount of players playing senior golf, there seems to, I get criticised for not knowing numbers all the time. I think it was 40% of retired golfers that could have gone and played seniors haven't. And there are 2 reasons. One, they've earned a load of money, don't need to play it as much. Well, you would say, well, actually, loads of golfers have still carried on to play because they like golf and they like money. but also the prevalence of injuries. And I wonder if this is something that we really need to look at with players in their 40s and 50s not going on, younger players getting injured. You said Will Zalatoris. You looked at David Poos. There's a lot of players who've had injuries. You look at LIV. How many players have had to step in? Had how many weeks out? 6 with a back injury. How many players had to step in because of injuries? Like you got Yong Song Han's had to step in. Wade Ormsby's played 2 events. Ollie Schneidlin's played 2 events. John Catlin's played 3 events. Minko Kim
has been hurt too. Ollie's been hurt too.
Yeah, Minko Kim's played 2 events this year. Phil missed an event. Phil's different. He's in his mid-50s. But my point being, there's a lot of people who are getting injuries. So look, get Jake. Perfect thing to look at.
Yeah, part of it is that like, because this is another reason why I'm against rollback back too, is because if you do roll back the ball, guys are just going to want to keep hitting it farther. It's all about course setup. It's all about the courses that these high level pros play. Like, it's just there's a push and a pull to the whole thing, and like, I want us to get out of this thing where distance is the most important thing in golf. And the only way to do that is you need better course design. Like a course that I play all the time here in Northern California, Paso Tiempo, 6,500 yards from the back tees. It's a college event there every single year. It is a huge challenge to these guys because they can't really use their distance around that course. Like, it does not really benefit them. It doesn't. You could ask John Rahm about that. John Rahm played in it too.
Hong Kong Golf Club. Yeah. 6,600 yards.
Those are the courses that need to elevate in professional golf, and we need to get away from these like 8,000 yard setups that, like, we should still have those, except we need to have more of a variety of courses that we play. Because if you are encouraging guys to just keep hitting it farther, this is the situation that we wind up in. So if we could not encourage that as much, and there's like less value on hitting it far, and there's a lot of AI and applications that'll tell you exactly what courses where distance is favored and ones where distance is not.
By the way, if anyone's not gone and seen it and they care about course design, Jay, you did a really good video on the reconstruction of the 16th Paso Tiempo.
Yes, it's one of my favorite.
That's on our YouTube channel. Go and have a look at it.
Yeah. The Golf Lovers YouTube channel. Subscribe, share, and like on our YouTube channel too. I don't say that enough. Every time I say that. But it's true. He admitted, he's like, every time he says it, the likes and the subscriptions go up. So I'm gonna keep saying it every single video. It's very important. You guys like this video, go to our other videos, like it, share it, subscribe, and it's gonna help us out for sure. Shout out Luke Kwan for telling me that too.
Shall we have a part of me wants to dive into the US Open, but part of me doesn't want to.
No, let's save it.
Because we can do that next week. But the only thing I did want to say was about, Jay, you've just done a quick document of how many LIV players are in there. And look, people say, oh, you're a LIV homer. You're paid by LIV. Again, if LIV are paying me, someone please let me know which bank account, because I've not received it. If LIV are, please let me know where that money's gone, because I'd really like it. But so my criticism of LIV is how few players bothered to qualify or go to the qualifying event. I was a little bit. And I know we've already covered off Moronk and Horsfield. They tried in the UK, didn't have a great result. That's fair enough. And I was a little surprised how few players tried to qualify for the US Open when the qualification. It's not. I don't mean it's easy, but what you have to do is quite simple: go, turn up, play 2 rounds, finish in top 4 or 5, whatever it might be per venue. I was surprised by how few players actually went to that. Am I wrong for saying that?
No, I mean, several didn't even show up to their tee time. So that's a little disappointing. But I think...
Who didn't show up to their tee time, Red? I know 2 didn't do it.
I don't have the complete list, but it was a large amount. I know... There was a lot
of them, particularly in the Woodmont.
Which was that area. They were probably supposed to go...
That happened to be the one where Mark Leishman got in and Sebastian Munoz is the alternates. And Peter Uihlein was right there too. But like a lot of these guys, the WD, David Puig, Bubba Watson.
Yeah, David's probably the only one who gets a doctor's note. It makes sense of why he probably didn't. But Thomas Peters,
Grace, Lee Westwood. I don't know why Lee West. Yeah, that was an interesting one.
I don't know why Grace probably shouldn't have just withdrawn earlier, because like I think he's still dealing with the wrist stuff. I would love to hear someone try to get him and interview him. Like maybe we can get on to Matt. But like,
Yeah.
leaving Korea, we literally, one of the final words was Pat saying that he was likely to get surgery. And then now it's just, I think Mike might have had something on just saying he doesn't need surgery, but there was no real further explanation. And if he thinks he's like completely 100% ready to go, sounds iffy to me. So not sure why. Not to change subject, but again, like I think for a while now that the need for someone to be on that team other than someone maybe Grace is kind of coming to a head.
Yeah. Shout out Krista Lamprecht. Like that's the guy that I want. Everybody knows that. My problem isn't necessarily
the other name we had was Lamprecht or Potiger.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Those are the two, like, youth, just really exciting players. You have a little personality too. Just like I think all those things are exactly what LIV is looking for. But
Potiger might be your best ever signing if it was the old rule of 3 rounds counting. If anyone's been watching his PJ Tour career, talk about one bad round in 4. Christ,
I know.
Who looked at it the other day, and I think his final score was like 3 under, but he had a round of 5 under and a round of 2 under, and he finished 3 under. Like, it's the kid he will light up 2 rounds out of 4. He lights it up. Yeah. He's a young kid. Consistency, obviously a great player, but yeah, there's some fantastic talent out there.
Yeah, and the thing is, like, the South African talent, not every single one of them need to go to Stinger right now. Like, they could go to, there's a lot of teams that could benefit from these guys, for sure. And then eventually, maybe they can make their way on the Stinger eventually when some of the other guys age out. That's certainly a possibility.
And Charles should be aging out, but Charles is underrated doing a Richard Bland.
Hey, yeah, he's the top player on their
team this year. Did that, and now all of a sudden, the last year and a half, Charles like, no, I'm going to play like I was 30 again.
It's one of the few people that have won LIV events. So I mean, that's something to be said for that, for sure. One other thing about U.S. Open qualifying, I want to get this out there because it is a little bit of a criticism that I have. It's not necessarily about the withdrawals prior to the round. My problem is with guys that play and then they pull out. And I got to call out Taylor Gooch because that was a really bad look. The fact that he played like 15 holes or something like that in the U.S. Open qualifying, and I think he was like, a couple over par, and then he just kind of quit.
But it is common to do, like, we have to say
it is common, but I don't like it. This is coming from someone that's WD from his fair share of events.
At least finish the 18. Okay.
Yes. Yeah, for sure.
I'm going to go on a gentlemanly rant now. I don't think it's fair on your playing partners for you to WD mid-round unless it's an injury. Because you're in a rhythm, you're in a groove. It's usually in a 3-ball. You're in a rhythm, the groove is there, you're playing together, and your playing partner's got a little pace of the round, this, that, and the other. Your withdrawal, and okay, of course, there'll be keyboard warriors. Well, why should you worry about how it affects other people? That's up to them to put their mind right. Okay, yeah, of course it is. But equally, it is never wrong time to do the right thing. If he'd withdrawn on 15 with an injury, fair enough. But if he's stinking it up, why not just play the next 3 holes and go, right, I'm just going to try and shoot level par from the next 3 holes, try and get my game into a better position, and I'll walk off after 18 and say thank you to everybody. I just don't like that pulling out mid-round. I pulled out mid-round once before. I had a shoulder injury. Like, I pulled out mid-round, and I was right to, because 4 weeks later I had shoulder surgery. So that's a bit weird in my shoulder. That's a bit of a weird clunk. 3-4 weeks later I had shoulder surgery. But that's different. But if you're just pulling out because you're not playing well, I also get the players not wanting to turn up their tee time at early doors, but they should maybe phone in a day or 2 early, because part of me says, guys, go and qualify. The other part of me goes, I get why, I'll just run down the list. I get why if you're, okay, some of these are excluded because they're already in, but Niemann, Shambo, Rahm, Garcia, Herbert, Munoz, Puig, Burmeister, Ortiz, Leishman, Swartzel, Koepka, Moronk, Reed, Mickelson, Answer, Bland, Smith, Howell, and Gooch. That's the top 20 on LIV. I can understand why if you're in the top 20 on LIV and you've been playing well enough to have those points, that you're aggrieved that you've not got an automatic qualification. So I can go, do you know what, sod it, stick it up your ass. I don't want to bother qualifying for your event. I can get that. but don't put your name down to qualify, then not turn up.
Yeah.
That's fair.
Well, I have a question of I guess why Lee didn't show up. I would think that he would I know he didn't have a great U.S. Senior Open, or U.S. Senior PGA, but
PJ.
He's still I don't know if anybody needs more time out on the golf course. It's guys like him.
So that's not true, Red. That's not true. He had an amazing senior PGA until the last day.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean,
That's true.
When he teed off, when he teed off, he was one shot back.
He could put 36 holes together, possibly. And I think, if you want to be serious about it, and he was playing Woodmont. I mean, it's easy enough to show up. And then there's also so much other time that you could do it. And you're talking about a guy who can fly wherever he wants. And I don't even know if they really even need to be over in the DC area right away. I know I've heard some guys are on property early, and I think most of those are people prepping for US Open, getting some more practice time and stuff. So it's going to be interesting to see they not to change ideas, but no, to wrap it up on the US Open stuff. I do think we should shout out, again, Carlos and Mark. They made it through.
Yep. Kazuma
too, yes.
Kazuma made it in
earlier. I was just keen on them too, because I think those are two guys who could have easily done like you said, the aggrieved status. I think if you're inside top 10 of LIV, you should at least it should probably fall to you by the fact that Waco, Bryce, and John are already in. Unfortunately, Seb is an alternate. He's going to, see how that shakes out. David didn't really show up, couldn't do it. Sergio missed by a putt to get into the playoff. So those top 10 guys, other than David and then Dean, who actually really didn't show up. And I don't know where his game's at right now. It'd be interesting to see if the layoff hurt him or not. But we almost had all those guys represented. I think if David was healthy, he probably would have shot the lights out somewhere. And
for sure,
it stinks that they couldn't prove that point to people at home.
I gotta shout out. Yeah, no, I gotta shout out Patrick Reed too, because Patrick Reed, he played himself in, even though he didn't have to qualify. He played himself in because he was playing consistently. He was playing outside of LIV. He was playing European Tour. He's playing Asian Tour. And then he played himself into contention at the Masters, and that got him in the top 60, and he didn't have to worry about qualifying. So a lot of these guys that aren't getting in, that's Patrick Reed is the path that they need to be following. Yes, we really hope that LIV gets OWGR points soon, because that's going to resolve a lot of stuff. Except Patrick Reed, I can't shout him out enough, because he goes out there, he grinds it out, he plays in as many places as he can to get points. And then he magically shows up to Augusta because he's been playing himself in the rhythm all year. He goes to Augusta, a place that he's confident at, finishes third. That gets him enough OWGR points to get in the rest of the majors. That's what these guys need to be doing for sure. And some of them are trying. Shout out Tom McKibben. He's trying to do the same thing. He's playing a European Tour. He's playing Asian Tour.
Tom is a great example of traveling, picking up the points, doing it the hard way, and getting them. Let LIV and OWGR, they can sort their shit out. Major exemptions, they can sort that out. Tom's like, look, I'll take it into my own hands, and I'm gonna go and pick up points from here and here to get up the rankings again.
And then my
only regret that I have about Tom McKibben, he tried to qualify at Duke University Golf Club. Shout out Duke. I should have caddied for him, because I could have shepherded him around that place and get him qualified. No hate to his caddy, but I know that course. I used to work there. Obviously, everybody knows I went to school at Duke. I know that course very, very well. And I should have given him and HV3 a little bit more advice before they went. So that's my bad. Guys, call me. If you guys are qualifying at Duke University Golf Club, I will drop everything to help you guys out.
My other thing on Tom was going to be the fact that, he made the cut at the PGA, didn't fare as well on the weekend as he probably hoped he would, but I do have to give him credit because he arrived late. He had late notice. He was still in Singapore. He was going to do the, what did Lucas play in? The Japanese event. He was going to play in the Asian Tour signature event and found out late. So you
dropped everything.
But you're already putting these guys on the back foot when they should be making their schedules and having these plans already figured out. And for him to show up and still make the cut and play better than a lot of people who had been there all week and had weeks to prep, just can't say enough about that effort. And it's unfortunate that it didn't really net him a ton more points, but still super impressive to do kind of basically on jet lag. So
completely agree.
And if anyone is going to final qualifying for the Open and they're going to play Burnham and Barrow and they've never played it before and they're listening, played it a few times. I know my way around there. Happy to give you a few little hints on where not to miss, because I've been in all the places you can miss, Jay. I found them all. One huge shout out to a young man who needs some flowers here. Luke Poulter, a year ago, was flying in his amateur career at Florida University.
Yep. University of Florida Gators. Yeah.
And
even though I don't like the Gators because of some of their other alums that will remain nameless, but everybody out there knows what I'm talking about.
You don't have to take it away. Let's just do a nice thing where you don't have to moan about Aaron Hernandez, all right?
No, I'm talking about Billy Ho, obviously. Come on. You're being silly.
I thought about Hernandez. Right.
They got a lot of questionable alums, but that's another story.
Luke Poulter was flying in his Gators career a year and a bit ago, got a back injury, and I was stood with Luke at JCB. You were there, and I was chatting to him on the range. He talked about his back injury, about his rehab, how he's going to get back. Luke Poulter to lose in a playoff to qualify for the US Open, fantastically. The coming back from an injury and all that sort of pressure on you, because it's sometimes very hard when your father's been one of the best in the world at something. To get up and grind is really difficult. The list of amazing sports children, of amazing sports parents, is very, very small. Very, very small. So for Luke to get up and do that, and he shot a second round 65. They had rain stop play on the Monday. That come back on the Tuesday, and he shot an eagle and a couple of birdies, shoot a 65, and then sadly lost in the playoff. But look, shout out to Luke, getting over the back injury, coming back. He's been amazing for the Gators. If you're following a bit of the amateur golf, and I just look. If you come back from a big injury and you play well, I think it's just worth a little shout out. And obviously, could Luke, here's a question. If we had to put money on it, could Luke be a stick?
Yeah,
could he be a stick?
He's going to do it. I don't
Could he end? You'd laugh about it.
How many players? I got to be LeBron situation at this point. That's what we're talking about here.
I got to be consistent about this. The nepotism in professional golf is one of the biggest problems that I have in professional golf. I got to be consistent about this. If Luke Poulter goes out and proves that he's a high-level professional player, and then they can figure something out, I would prefer it if another team.
Hang on. There's hypocrisy from hypocrisy from you there, because you didn't ask Caleb Surratt to go out and prove he's an amazing pro golfer. You didn't ask Eugenio Shikara to go out and prove he's an amazing golfer. You were happy with him to come from the amateur game and play on LIV. So that's I love you, but that's bullshit.
No,
that's not fair. That's a double standard.
Exactly, Wagger. No. We have to be honest here. Luke Poulter, as much as I like him, shout out to him. Great kid. Really enjoyed talking to him. He's not on an amateur level. He's not on those guys' levels just yet. Now, if he goes out and becomes a number 1-2 amateur in the world, that's a whole other story.
Yeah, that's fine. But you said you wanted to go out and be a pro golfer, and I'm like, that isn't a fair comparison.
No, it's a fair comparison to these guys that are not elite level amateurs, like a Ballester, like Eugenio, who was number 2 in Wagger. Like that means something. Getting up that high. Ludwig was a number 1. A lot of these guys get to like that 1, 2, 3 spot. Surratt was in the top 5 too. So if Luke Poulter gets to that point, I will evolve and change on my take. However, he's not quite there yet.
I'd also have to put you on the hot seat, Ben. Who are you? Are you saying he's going to take Ian's spot? Is that?
No. My point is, and I don't mean go on the sticks in 2026, but do another year at university. Yeah. Do another year at university. Go up the ladder. Prove you're a top 5, 8, 10 am in the world, and then if there's a space on the sticks, what a lovely story that would be. Lovely story. He's proved himself as a safe top 5, 8, 10 amateur in the world, and then come over to LIV 2 years in the sticks and see if you can prove it. I think it'd be a great story.
No, I think I will agree with you.
I know people don't agree with me. And I know it's hard to mandate it because it's teams and teams need to win. I think every team should have an under 23 player. Every single team should have one.
Don't get me started on fifth player rule. Don't get me started.
I knew that's where
Yeah,
you're
right.
going.
Okay. How do I mute Red? How do I mute Red?
Yeah,
I can't do this to a player
let's
again.
just transfer over to the newest, now almost fifth player, because I think that's just a perfect place to jump into. So
Yes, completely agree. Completely agree. No, let's. Yeah, I definitely think moving over. Let's focus a little bit more on LIV Golf. I do want to shout out Jose Luis Ballester. I still haven't figured out exactly how he wants all of us to pronounce his last name. I'm gonna go with the Spanish pronunciation and go Ballester, like Sevi Ballesteros. A lot of people called Sevi Ballesteros, so there's like this Americanized pronunciation too. I'm gonna have to ask him in person about that at some point. Speaking of high level amateur players, though, like he is definitely an elite amateur player. He was in the top 5 of the PGA Tour U rankings, which basically sort of gives you a fast track to either the Korn Ferry Tour or the PGA Tour. He had Korn Ferry Tour status coming up this year. He decided to decline that and go to LIV and accept this position on the Fireballs instead, which I think is a great move. Sergio Garcia has known him since he was 4 years old. There's some great photos out there of those two together. He was coached by Sergio's dad, Victor. There's a lot of really great symmetry there. And this is where it isn't nepotism at all because Ballester obviously 2024 U.S. Amateur Champion, high-level amateur. I don't know exactly where he was in Wagger, but I know he's top 10. Top 5 PGA Tour U. Those are the things that I'm looking for. Like, if you are going to bring in a young player, like, those are the things that I'm looking at. Like, oh, this guy, he can hit the ground running. Like, he played in the Masters. Even though he missed the cut, I watched a lot of his first and second round because he was on featured group coverage. He started out really poorly. Like, he was like 5 over after 5. Like it was not looking good.
Tripled 5. Yeah.
He strapped on his big boy pants. Shout out, big boy pants golf. He strapped on his pants and was like, I'm gonna grind it out. And he almost got up there to be within striking distance of making the cut. That to me showed something, even with all the controversy about what he was doing in Rays Creek and all that.
I say he didn't keep those pants on the whole time.
Yeah, exactly.
Those pants did not stay on the whole time.
Sadly,
but yeah.
Yeah.
I totally agree though. It was a decent effort from someone who's playing with the pressure of having Scottie Scheffler and Justin Thomas staring down your group. And honestly, I think I watched a little of those videos. I think they probably knew just as much as a lot of people do that he was in talks with LIV, and they probably weren't the friendliest chaps to be playing your 3-ball with either. Not to say that I have any way to prove that. Just, I think everybody talks in this game, and it's not easy to, be a young kid playing with basically 2 of the guys who are going to be on the opposite side of you. It would have been nice if we could have got a friendlier pairing maybe. But yeah, I think that's unfortunate that a lot of people are going to know him from that. And that's going to be his, like, basically, his number one thing. Anybody who's a casual golf fan is going to know. Like, if I had to tell my girlfriend, I was like, yeah, they got a Ballester. And she was like, who's that? And I'm like, the kid who pissed in Race Creek. Oh yeah, I know who that is. So it's like, just an unfortunate reality. He's just going to have to play his way out of that. And,
I've got an opinion on this. I've got an opinion on this that I'm not absolving the young man of blame. We all make bad decisions, but where's the caddy? Where's the caddy going, mate? Do you know what? Don't piss in Race Creek.
I think it was like his friend though. I think it was another team.
Doesn't matter.
Really light bag. And
what's the job of a caddy? How many times have we seen on tour and we've been up close? Christ, I've spoken to 15 or 20 of the caddies on LIV. One of their major responsibilities, no, maybe on that. One of their responsibilities they always say is to protect their player, and it's not protecting from fans, but
Harry Diamond.
It's to protect their player from decision making. Be that. And one of the caddies, can't remember who it was. One of the caddies said to me, I can't remember which it was. One of the things I've got to do to protect my player, he forgets to drink. Was it? It might have been Anna Barnes.
Gotta hydrate.
I'm not going to say it's Barnes caddy because it probably isn't. Was saying to me, he forgets to drink. I have to tell him to drink every 3 holes. Have you had anything to drink? Oh shit, no. One of the jobs of caddy. Where have these Trump hands come from? This is the second time I've done it now in 2 weeks.
Great, keep going. Keep doing it. Keep doing it. Yeah, we love it.
Where are they not protecting them? And I think that's something that, again, might have been a young guy, whatever, but still, something's got to give there. But we can't talk about him peeing in the creek any longer because
Two quick things about that. One, I love the fact that he pissed in race cricket. I really do. Just anything to get
You
under the
actually like
green,
that.
anything to get under the green jacket skin. I'm all about it. Just it's so I love the fact that that he did that for sure. On the caddy situation, this is where it's not just, I keep telling people, like, having the right caddy isn't just about somebody carrying the clubs and helping you through shots. It's like, it's having a coach on the bag. It's like having all these, like, it's like having 5 jobs in one. And some of these caddies do a much better job than others in terms of doing all these 5 jobs. That's been my biggest criticism of Harry Diamond, Rory McIlroy's caddy, where he got into this incident with the phone at the players. If he had a different caddy that was a little bit more of an alpha, that never would have happened. Like, there's no chance that, like, Adam Hayes, that's John Rahm's caddy, would allow John Rahm to do that. Like, it's just not happening. Steve Williams, it's not happening.
As long as Billy Foster isn't caddying, my question will always be, for every bad decision, would Billy have made that? And my answer will always be no. Like, the fact that Billy Foster is not on a bag is potentially the biggest travesty in golf at the moment. Like,
We should call him up.
It's insane.
Lee should get the band back together. What's he doing?
There's some guys that could use some caddying. I'm not going to name any names, but there's definitely some
Here come
players
3
that
names.
have struggled in majors. And I do want to shout out one guy because, like, I just watched his press conference. It was some really important things, and he might have been listening to his podcast because it's something that we've leaned into for the last 6 months. Joaquin Niemann. I think Joaquin Niemann, he unlocked something at the PGA Championship. He talked about it a lot in his press conference where, like, he realized something clicked, that he needed to just play more conservative in majors. And it's something that doesn't come natural to him. And it's something that he and his caddy have talked about now. And it's something that's like an active focus for them whenever they get into these majors now. And it's like, that's what I was talking about a year or 2 ago. Like, if he did have
it doesn't always have to be the accelerator pedal, does it? It doesn't always have to be the accelerator pedal.
Exactly. Like, that's it's been the whole thing to, like, unlock his potential in majors. And I think he's finally figured it out, which is part of the reason why I think the rest of this year, he's going to have really good performances in the next 2 majors. I feel very confident about it. He's definitely going to win one at some point, probably. He seems like a multiple-time major champion to me. And I think it's going to take him a little while to get there, except he's got all the talent in the world. And now that he and his caddy have, like, the right game plan and strategy going into these majors, I think that's where it's going to unlock, like, another level of Joaquin Niemann that we haven't seen in majors yet. And that was just something I wanted to sort of lean into. That's where having a caddy is really important. Like, if he did have a more experienced caddy, like 3 years ago, like if he did have a Billy Foster, like, he probably would have played better in majors to this point. Except sometimes you have to learn alongside your caddy. I think they've gotten to that point now, and I think we're going to see some really, really good results from Waco move.
I'll also add on Waco, he made that backdoor top 10. People can make what they want, but he missed 2 shortest putts on 3 and 4 that actually would have got him a T2.
Yes.
And like that, like, make of it what you would, then shooting that score and then running into the clubhouse. But I think he needs to look at that, just like you said, and be like, holy crap, like, I almost just had them come back to me and could have been sitting in the clubhouse waiting for a playoff. Like,
yes,
that's major championship golf. That is where you need to say, like, I don't need to keep, like, take some safe shots, understand which holes you want to attack, and have a game plan from the start of the week and moving forward, and, like, basically don't deviate from it unless you're John Rahm and you need to hit a draw into 17 and screw yourself, make it double. But that's fine, because at that point, the game plan's out the window. You only have 2 holes left.
Do you want to do now 5 minutes on Rahm before we go over to LIV? Because I know you were there and you want to talk about how he was struck back and had his focus back. So I think, Jay, and I'll let you just do your Rahm riff, and then we'll go into the last bit on LIV, because I got a question about Luis Masaveu and about schedule. So let's do that, and then we'll go with those last bits.
And then obviously
we're going to finish with Rory.
I don't really know if I have 5 minutes. I just a short bit of, like, being on the ground and watching John and the way he was walking about. And I think he alluded it in the press conference he did with Amanda at the end saying, it was the most fun I've ever had. It was because he, like the old Jon Rahm, the focus, the walk, the cadence, everything he was doing was the Jon Rahm we know can win major championships. And it was awesome to watch on the ground. It was unfortunate that he didn't have a better start to the day. I think he let a few opportunities go on the first 6 holes. Again, like just kind of pitting around 7. He didn't treat well all week. He was pissed off with that tee shot. I don't think he just didn't like it, which was unfortunate because as a hole he needed to score, and he was kind of left scrambling there all week. All those little things could have made a difference coming down the stretch. And quite literally, and I know people saw this at home, but he had a chance to go on a run of birdies there that would have captured him that championship, even with Scottie doing what he did.
So
And it
close.
just,
So close.
I think people are going to forget that. They're going to continue
Yes.
to do, oh, T8, he couldn't make it through the 17. All the ridiculous statements we see online just could not be further from the reality that was that final day. And if you don't have him penciled in for Oakmont, you're an idiot. I'm sorry. Like it's going to play right into the way he plays golf. And I'm excited to watch it. And I think he's going to take everything he learned from that and brought back those feelings and the drive and what he was doing. And it's just going to be a totally different person from here on out. And in fact, I would reference that and say, watch out for him this week. I think he's going to look to kind of get that right back into the saddle. And I don't necessarily know if he wants to. It's going to be interesting for some of these guys. I don't know how much energy they're going to want to expand it out on the golf course, but it's always one of those things. Like I think the same thing with, and we can use it to jump into Rory, but I don't know how often these guys are showing up to this week before with more of just a practice mentality and not just like, I actually want to win. But I'm looking forward to seeing what he does and kind of what Rory does too. I think these little like get ready and get the dust off after a break are important, and I'm glad they're doing it. I just don't know if I'm going to take that much away. Like if Rahm, maybe he doesn't go in the top 10 this week, and that's what he needs. I don't know.
Hopefully finish in top 10.
Yeah, so that's Rahm done, and I'm glad we've heard that. I want to just move on because I know we're so short on time. What happens if Lewis Masaveu, who hasn't been brilliant but hasn't been dreadful, what happens if Lewis Masaveu he's finished 14th and 20th before, so let's say he finishes 16th, ends up with that many points. Let's say Lewis Masaveu gets finishes tied 13th or 13th, whatever, 15th, 16th, round there, gets with 3, 4, 5 points, ends up being 34th, 35th in the standings. There are players below, and Puig can come back. And there are players below him, and I'll just list them. And Joaquin was a captain. We've got McDonald, Kokrak, Axley. Oh, no, he's what's it called?
Wild card.
Yeah. So Jones, Ogletree, Steele, Grace, Mita Pereira, Yubin Zhang, Freddie Ketterup. You've got those players there. They're all on teams, and Lewis Masaveu's played a lot better than this year. Is there any chance that the one thing is Puig isn't? I spoke to someone, I can't say who. They said they think that Puig is aiming to be back for Valderrama. If he's ready for Dallas and Marido, then he will go. There's obviously you got the event this week in Virginia, and then you've got the Dallas on the 27th of June. While Dallas would be great, the idea is he's ready for Valderrama and the home one, and obviously then the Open the week after. For me, it's a question of if he is back for Dallas and he's ready, then Masaveu's got to go somewhere. If Masaveu plays well, does a player get benched? What happens there?
Yeah. I think probably what's going to happen is Lewis is going to be a reserve player the rest of the year. I've already seen he's been playing on the Challenge Tour. I'm sure he's going to get some Asian Tour starts and stuff like that. Except 2026, like if he starts playing well, like he's going to be on a team next year for sure. Like why wouldn't Torquay pick up Lewis Masaveu? Like, I mean, especially if Mito Pereira continues to stink it up the way that he has. So, like, there are going to be options for him for sure. And as we're talking about 2026, it's likely going to be 15 teams anyway. So there's going to be spots. I think people would be silly not to look at him if he continues to play pretty consistent golf, because I mean, look, he's a rookie. He's had some pretty good finishes. Like he's finished 14th, he's finished 20th. He's been in the points, 3-4 times this year.
Yeah, he's done enough
which is
not to
many
hurt
more
anybody.
times than other people have.
Oh, yeah.
So I think that there's a good chance that he would get picked up. Obviously, we just finished the midseason transfer window, so there really aren't going to be any other moves the rest of the year. However, reserve player, in case there's an injury, he would obviously be probably first or second choice to come on a team at that point. And then 2026, like I could definitely see him permanently on a team, even if it's not the Fireballs, which is probably unlikely just because of the team that they have now. Like they're already a really good team as it is between Sergio, Abe Answer, and Puig, and now Ballester. Like that's a really, really solid team. So I can't see them making any changes after this year. And he probably find his way on another team though.
Same on every point there. Yeah, what makes no sense for some of these teams not to consider him as an option. Just going to be interesting to see where he plays, how he plays for the rest of the season once David comes back, which I think I've heard the same, like maybe 2-3 events. Doesn't seem like a huge problem. This problem started at the PGA and he played through it. Now it was just, I think it's one of those things where if I keep doing this, it's only going to get worse and I might have to surgery kind of option.
Yes. And he needs to avoid that at all costs. And Will Zalatoris is a great cautionary tale. Like these young players, you need to do everything you can to not have back surgery. Like your back, once you've gone under the knife, you're never the same. Like it doesn't matter what, and I know people want to call me a quack doctor sometimes, but it's like the proof is in the pudding. There's very few players that have come back from surgery, and that particular spot has been better than what it is before you went under the knife.
About the only thing these days that does seem to be fine is obviously a bone break, but there seems to be such amazing development in ACLs and MCLs.
For sure.
Which is the one I would have thought would have still been really bad, but right. So that's LIV done. We can talk for a long time about players who've got to perform. We've done it to death. Let's see how players are going to be after 3 weeks. There's a lot of players that know they've got to perform. There are a lot of players that are rounding into form, and you could argue the break came at the wrong time for them. Like there are a lot of players who are playing a bit better towards the end. Ogletree, Poulter, Kokrak. There were some players that were playing really well towards the end, and it's like I bet they were gutted the mid-season break came because they were sort of rounding back up into form. So let's see how the season goes this week. I'm not going to draw any huge conclusions. Let's get through Dallas. Let's have 2 events, see where we are.
The next 2 events, one person that we haven't really talked about at all of this podcast yet, which is a shocker because we talk about him all the time, it's Bryson DeChambeau. Like Bryson is like really, he's rounding in the form. I think he's going to go on a run here. I think that there's a very strong chance Bryson is going to win the season-long points. I think he's going to do really well in Virginia, and then Maridoe is basically a home game for him. Like no one has more of an advantage in Maridoe than Bryson DeChambeau. So, and I think he's going to play well at Oakmont. If you haven't watched Bryson's video at Oakmont that he just released, like it's truly a game changer in terms of your knowledge and enjoyment of the US Open next week. Like he goes into so much detail about strategy. Jibo's there.
Yep.
They're talking they talk through every single hole. They talk about the difficulty. They talk about the rough. They talk about the greens. Like it is such a plus video that like if you're going to get the most out of watching Oakmont and the US Open in a week, like this should be like a prerequisite to that because it's going to increase your enjoyment and understanding of that golf course and all the strategy that's involved in that. So I highly recommend that.
And I'm actually going to say, I'm going to criticize LIV on something. I think LIV missed a trick, right? Rick is the wrong person to do it. Rick isn't the right guy to do it, Rick Shields. I do think there should be a couple of people who go round a couple of days before the event and talk about maybe 4 or 5 of the holes, some of the misses, and this bit gets piped in before the event, before a hole, whatever else, a little YouTube video up there, a 20-minute course review on different places, different misses. You don't have to do every hole because sometimes you've got a par 3 and you just got to carry this par 3 160 yards. If you're short, left or right, you're wet, crack on. You don't need to do every hole in great detail, but I think it'd be really interesting to see that. And I thought maybe we'd get some of that with Rick, but we don't. But there we are. Anyway,
No,
right.
we got a little bit.
Yeah, we get a bit, but
free,
not enough.
I got some
become
free
faster
advice
too.
yeah. I got some free advice for Liv. I know a lot of you guys listen to this podcast. You guys just hired a very, very, very good senior writer in Matt Vincenzi. He can partner with a lot of these Liv players and talk through holes, talk through strategy. He has one of the best minds in golf. He's one of the few people in the media that I trust wholeheartedly because he knows his stuff. He has integrity, all that stuff that I talk about all the time. He's getting to know some of the players. I think that he can extract a lot of that information from these players in terms of strategy, how to play holes, how to play a course, all that stuff that would be additive to the Live products that the PJ Tour is not doing. So those are the things I just want to like plant these seeds that you just hired somebody for a very specific job. He's very versatile. He can do a lot of different things. So I'm going to keep shouting him out because, yeah, I think he's really, really good.
I mean, until the Ballester news broke, he was the best signing in the transfer window. I mean, I was super excited to hear that that was finalized and that he's joined the LIV team. And I think it was actually a little disheartening to hear that he's yet to be tipped for joining the pre and post game show. Like I thought when he did that, it was a great addition. I watched some of the clips. I didn't get to watch the whole thing because we were on the ground.
Yeah, on site.
Yeah, I just think he's probably great for that kind of role, and I think it would add a
He
lot.
is.
And
He
I'm sure they'll
is.
figure it out.
But I could argue you need another two characters alongside Matt so that you've not got the same. If you've got Rachel and Christian and Pat doing it between them, having a couple of other people join every now and again on a rota rather than the same people all the time. Otherwise, you end up with 5 presenters all the time rather than 2 or 3. So, like, yeah.
Well, I think even like Jerry pulls like double duty, and I highly doubt he would like be that upset about having to miss a few of those tapings.
No, I know.
Yeah, I don't know if he loves. I don't know if he loves pulling double duty. Like I don't.
They rush him out of there to go to the like truck.
It seems like a lot.
Yeah,
I'm biased. I'll have give me as much Jerry as you got.
I love Jerry. Don't get me wrong. I'm
the
looking
more
out for
Jerry,
him.
the better.
I know. I am.
Brilliant.
I'm just looking out for him. But I would agree. I think they're rotating cast. It's not a bad idea at all.
Gents, we've got 10 minutes. We've got 10 minutes. Come on.
I think Jerry would love to be paid the same or more for less work. Let's just say that. I feel very confident in saying that. So
that's a LIV model.
Right.
Exactly.
Okay. Jay, we've got under 10 minutes because I got a closing statement, which I haven't told you two about, which is going to make you both laugh. And then we need to do Rory. I want to do Rory in 2 bits. I'll do the first bit about the investment stuff. And then I want you two to talk about the presser. So it seems to have gone unnoticed by many, many people. And you've got an opinion, which I know we're not going to dive into now. That's for a deep one. I know you spoke about in Spaces about maybe there's some conspiracy. Who knows? I'm not sure. I don't think there is, but what it is. I don't think people understand the wheels within wheels in golf.
Mm-hmm.
McIlroy has just partnered with TPG, one of the largest investment funds going, to launch TPG Sports. That was about 3.5 weeks ago. A week after he did that, the Saudi PIF, Public Investment Fund, also partnered with TPG to put a second 1.5 billion into the TPG Infrastructure Fund. If people think that those 2 investments were done without any knowledge of each other, I don't understand how much more I need to help you with these things. Like, there is no way at all the PIF didn't. I'm not saying one happened because of the other. I don't believe it did. I'm just saying, if you think there was no knowledge that Rory was partnering up with TPG to start a sports fund, and that the PIF were putting in another 1.5 billion into an infrastructure fund, both with TPG, you're insane. And I just want to put on, so there's wheels within wheels of this golf game and with this sports world and with investments. You've got the Strategic Sports Group, you've got PJTE, you've got PIF, you've got TaylorMade are up for sale. And the strong room we're getting is that the Korean part owners don't want it to be sold over to Saudi because they think they can get a better deal off China. But there's confusion about how China would want something to be done with access to X, Y, and Z, and other people about the mark. There are deals and so much going on. And if you're so naive that you're this top of funnel, what's going on up here? drill down. Look what's going on. There are billions of dollars floating around from linked party to linked party to linked party. And if you said to me that Rory and the TPG fund ended up buying the PGA Tour's stake in the DP World Tour, I would not be surprised at all.
That is a really important point that everybody needs to let marinate. It's such a huge thing. Like, people just need to sit and think on that. Now that Rory has won the Grand Slam, which was the thing he wanted to do the most, he wanted to win the Masters. Everybody
The release must have been massive, Jay. That release must. I can imagine going home and you just sat. He just sat down for 3 days and went, "I'm just going to sit."
No, like I said, like, I'm a little bit conflicted about it for various reasons. Except it's a huge achievement. He's talked about it a lot. It was very, very important to his career and his legacy. I totally get all that. Now that he's done that, now he can think about, now that my legacy on the golf course is pretty much set, what's my like overall legacy gonna be? Like, Rory talks about legacy all the time. He knows the history of golf. Like, he knows the history of the European Tour. He knows the history of the PGA Tour. What bigger legacy could there be, especially for somebody as polarizing as Rory has been, particularly the last 3 years? What is a better legacy than being the guy that spearheads a rebirth of the European Tour into not what it is now, where it's basically like the redheaded stepchild of the PGA Tour? Like, they're totally in deference to the PGA Tour on everything. They lose talent to the PGA Tour every single year. If he could be the one to lead this resurgence, with Saudi Piff kind of being a sort of shadow investor in this, like, that's where it's like really a game changer, because then you could have this partnership finally between the European Tour, the Asian Tour, and LIV, where that can truly become a global tour, where that's the thing that he's been talking about for years at this point. Like, what he wants to do is, like, he wants to build this global tour that includes European Tour, hopefully PGA Tour events too eventually, except he wants to build this global tour where he's kind of a headliner, where you could bring in some of these national opens like the Australian Open, which he's playing in later this year. He wants to bring the sport to India, which he's also playing in later this year. He's playing in the Canadian Open this week. He's going to be playing in the Irish Open in a few months. Like, these are things that are really, really important to him. So if he wants to build his legacy around stuff and he wants to be the new Seve, all of a sudden he goes from this super polarizing figure, particularly globally, he turns into this revered figure that can be the spearhead to bring back the European Tour to what it once was. Yeah, and that's something people need to think about, for sure.
He's literally going on a like winter golf research trip, and he's getting paid millions of dollars to dip his toes into these markets and see what bounces back at him. And all the credit to him, because I think the game's going to benefit for it. I think that's where we've netted out with all this stuff for a long time on Global Golf, and why we're part LIV supporters and part people who want to see the DP World Tour have its own success and the Asian Tour have its own success. It can all work in this unison that we just haven't seen, because the PGA Tour have made themselves the Death Star that anybody who approaches them and encroaches on their ability to continue to have their own ecosystem, gets lasered into oblivion. And we just, I think anything that stops that from happening is for the better.
The question, though,
that's what
the question, if you're going to use a Star Wars reference, is Rory Luke Skywalker or Lando Calrissian? Which is he? Is he going to double cross then cross back? Is he going to blow up the Death Star? There's a legitimate question there, and I actually think he's got the potential to do either at the minute.
Yeah, well, I think he fancies himself Luke. Let's be honest, but he does. There can be.
He's moving back to London. We know he's moving back to London. We know that's happening, and I just think you're right. He fancies himself as that, and if he and TPG Sports, and maybe the TPG Sports Fund gets another little investment boost from the PIF. Who knows? Who are already in bed with TPG? Who knows? and they end up buying the stake in the DP World Tour, and then PIF end up buying a stake in TaylorMade. The world of golf is a very different place, and the people that keep wanting to tell me that everything's rosy with the PGA Tour, I'm sorry, I'm not anti. Look,
No.
Jay is anti PGA Tour. We know I'm not. So
But you
people
should
keep
be.
saying I am. I know, but I'm just saying. But please stop telling me that when your best players that were your best players and world-class players leading the charge all of the time 18 months ago are struggling to get into 20th and being beaten by Brad Snedeker and by Keegan Bradley and whoever else, things aren't quite right. And when you are putting up Ben Griffin as your new hero after 3 events, like, I'm sorry. By the way, I think the guy looks cool as hell. I'd love to see him on LIV. I think he looks great fun.
Yeah,
and frankly,
okay,
I'd love to have him. He looks great fun. But my point is, if you've now gone, we're not talking about Xander, Cantlay, Finau, Morikawa, Thomas, Fowler, Fleetwood, keep naming them, and we're now talking about Ben Griffin. Like, things have moved on, and I just think people need to understand these wheels and wheels that are going on. There is no way these things have happened by accident. There's no way these things haven't happened without the prior knowledge of each other. I'm not saying one's a direct result of the other. There is correlation, not causation. If you want to understand that, look it up. It's just interesting, mate. We've got 2 minutes to do that press conference.
And there's a wheel, except that ties directly into Rory's press conference. Like, there are these little things in the media that people need to keep an eye out on. Like, it's not a coincidence that Rory's driver stuff, it leaked at the PGA Championship. This is not a coincidence that all this other stuff is going on. It's not. Like, the stuff with TaylorMade, like, it's none of this is a coincidence. And if you listen to Rory's press conference, it was very, very subtle, but it was very, very, very important. And something that I tweeted about is that he is starting to realize, I feel very, very strongly about this. He's starting to realize that the media is not his friend. The media has been his friend for the last 3 years. They have protected him. They've defended him every single time they could. I think they were there. He blamed the media for leaking this driver stuff at the PGA Championship, which now all of a sudden people are calling into question, like, did he cheat? All this stuff we talked about the last podcast. We don't agree with that. However, now these questions are being raised. So I think
we couldn't have defended him more. We could not have defended him more.
100%,
like
100%, because it's not his fault.
I'm not anti Rory. I'm anti some of his behaviours, like I am with anyone. There's very few people who know I'm anti that person. I'm anti some of the things they do. Right.
It's very interesting when these things leak, because I was actually talking to someone who's
starve. My wife is going to starve.
No, I was really, really, really quick. I talked to someone who's a Masters champion, let's say, and he was telling me about how actually he had something similar happen to him years ago, where his driver failed testing and he had to go to a backup. And it's like, he knows this stuff is confidential. So the fact that it got out about Rory and not Scottie and not Xander and not any of these other guys is very, very, very telling.
All right. Lastly, but not least, we're going to have to wrap up. Anyone who wants to tell me that Trump is on the side of the PGA Tour, go and have a look who he invited to the White House 4 days ago to play on the lawn. He's hitting wedges with Bryson on the front lawn of the White House. And did you see who was there today all day with him?
Yeah.
Ian
Your
Poulter.
boy.
Yeah, my boy Potts. Please, people, stop telling me that Trump is on the side of the PGA Tour. If anything, Trump is on the side of whatever's best for America and Trump, which I think he probably feels is LIV because the PIF and the money the Saudis put in. So that was my final thought. Closing thought was, please stop telling me that Trump is going to do whatever the PGA Tour want. That is not going to happen. He's going to, if he does what if he ends up doing that, it's because he perceives that to be the best thing for him and the USA. I'm not saying he doesn't side with them, but his siding is not going to be based on wanting to make the PGA Tour happy. That is a moronic thought.
0% chance of that. 0%.
Or his ex-daughter-in-law dating Tiger.
But he's been really happy about that. Like he actually he did a really good conversation on that the other day. Did you see that press conference?
No.
They did a press conference where they asked him about it. And he actually said, he said, I've got a really good relationship with Tiger. He said,
yeah, I did see that.
He said, I can't remember, Vanessa. Vanessa's an amazing mum. He said Don Jr., an amazing guy. They had a great relationship. They got 5 amazing kids. He said, and Tiger rang me up a few weeks before it went public to say to me, look, Vanessa and I are starting a relationship. And he's like, great, you're a good guy. I hope you two are happy together. He said he'd spoken, and his son Tiger had spoken to his son about it. Like, people think that there's an issue there. There isn't. I actually think that the thinking that there's issues all the time is such a bizarre personal reflection on how other people perceive things, that they always perceive that other people are absolutely bothered by things.
Yeah. I think Trump saying Tiger's a good guy is a very interesting comment, but just looking at the history of both and his history of women, that they're dealing with women, that makes more sense. But yeah,
right.
not going to get into it now.
Right.
Yeah,
you already
sliding
did.
Scale.
Yeah. Goodbye, everybody. It's time to end this podcast. Right. Goodbye. Love you all. Take care. Oh, by the way, if you want to get a rangefinder, shotscope.com, golf lover at checkout, shotscope.com, golf lover at checkout.
It'll be in the comments. It'll be in the description too.